All right, welcome into the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. And before floor, an extension of 5 on the floor here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. I'm repeating myself now. Here we go. I'm here at FTX Arena. I want to mention our great sponsors, Biscayne Bay Brewing. Of course, you can find Biscayne Bay Brew here at FTX Arena at the 100 level and 300 level. They got the kiosks here, but they are the official beer of the Miami Marlins, who are starting up later this week, and also at 5 Reasons Sports. We don't really stop. Check them out also at Winn-Dixie, Whole Foods, Publix. There are sponsors like Quarterdeck, many restaurants in town. You'll be surprised. Like, if you go check out the menu of a lot of bars in town, like, they may not have all the beers, but they usually have one of them. So try them out. Again, it's Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official beer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network and the Miami Marlins. Also, our sponsor here Before Floor for this entire year. We appreciate it. Our friend Mark Brown, marcbrownpa.com, the man with a plan. If you need an estate plan, you got to reach out to Mark. And yes, you do. If you're young with a family especially, you got a newborn or anything like that, okay? You got to make sure if something happens to you that your money goes to the right place, right? You want to make sure that your children are taken care of. 954-566-5678, 954-566-5678. He's based in North Lauderdale, but just set up a consultation, mention 5 Reasons. And again, you can find him at marcbrownpa.com. Big Miami Heat fan here as well. Here's the crew tonight. We've got Jonathan Ramachan. You can follow him at 3Piece Combo. You can also follow his MMA work here on the channel and on a new channel, which we're going to be starting up soon. We'll talk to you about that more as we go forward. And on the postgame show, Greg Sylvander. You can find him at Greg Sylvander. Our producer, Alejandro Villegas. Find him at Alejandro VG32. And Brady Hawk 305. And also his work is on 5reasonsports.com. And as I always mention, we don't have a paywall. Also, sign up for our subscriber thread. Me and Alex and Brady and Greg, we're on there all the time. And we're giving you content before we give it here. We're up to 200 subscribers. So that's a pretty good milestone that we hit today. We'd like to get it to 1,000 by the time the playoffs are over with. So go to Off the Floor. And, well, yeah, that too. But you can try it out for a week. All right, let's get to it, Brady. Who's in? Who's out?
Yeah, no Kyle Lowry is the first one who it was, I think, body soreness. Then it was changed to rest. And it was pretty clear that he just needed rest after playing that back-to-back. Dwayne Dedmon's out. And then Eric Spoelstra is the other one that's out. That's who knows how long, it could be, even another game possibly. But Chris Quinn is going to step in. I think has something to do with possibly the rotation because people have noted he seems more willing to play Depot maybe more minutes than maybe Spo would. Like, if you think back to the first time he stepped in, they were on a 15-minute limit. And then Depot kind of pushed that, and he was closing that game. You look to the last game, he has the big game and has, 23 points. So it's interesting because I think Gabe steps into the starting lineup, and you have bench unit of guys like Tyler, Duncan, Caleb, Morris. You're going to have to go small if you go with Depot. So it's just I'm curious to see how they go about the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, this tells you how deep this team is. They got 2 rotation guys out, including a starter, and we're still trying to figure out who the odd man out is, right, Greg? Like, because they still got 10 that would be playable, and that's not including Yurt, but they got 10 that would be playable here. They've got to decide on one. I was crunching some numbers today, and I know Eric Spoelstra, he told me up in Chicago that the analytics didn't guide his decision.
Sure.
But the analytics, I mean, he said he didn't even know the analytics. It was just eye test. But all the analytics say that this team is better with Max Strus. Like, even the heralded Bam Duncan combination, which has been solid this year, is roughly the same as the Bam Jimmy combination offensively. And it's like half in terms of points per 100 possessions. Not half, but I'm sorry. But it's like they're +6, but otherwise it'd be +12 when it's Strus and Bam. Like, everybody you plug Strus in with, they look better. Is that coincidence?
I don't think so. And I think Eric knows that. Maybe he's that good that he literally, his eye test is always consistent with all statistics. Maybe that's the secret that he has the advantage. It's interesting, like when you talked about who's going to get squeezed out, because I feel like that's the only narrative left for us to churn out before the playoffs start is which one of these guys is going to get left off the table when the games really matter. And I feel like Caleb Martin is somebody that we've all penciled in. And lately, maybe we've all been, at least this is how I felt collectively, like maybe there's a little bit of flinching going on there in terms of him being the shoe-in to be that guy who gets minutes. So I'm interested to watch him play if he looks healthy. And if he actually is going to capitalize on this role, because we kind of all thought that was going to be him, right?
Yeah, and I think when you look at Markieff Morris tonight, this to me, he's a situational guy. He's not a rotation guy. But Depot could be more. I mean, they took him out of the rotation for a reason. But here's the thing: like they've got 3 games left. If they win tonight, let's say Boston loses. Okay, if they win tonight, Milwaukee's not losing tonight because they're playing Chicago. Although people think that Chicago should have 2 All NBA players, they're playing against Chicago, and Levine's not even playing, and Chicago never beats anybody good. So the Bucks are going to win tonight, provided that most of their players are healthy. But let's just say that Miami may be in position to wrap this 1 seed up. Like it may even happen before they play on Friday if they win tonight. Like they may know by Friday. So Jonathan, if that's the case, does this become maybe a 3-game audition for Victor Oladipo to kind of add to the game he just had to say, okay, you got to think of me as more than situational?
Yeah, because he can still be that X factor, right? We still have to remember like what he can bring to the table. He's still a high-end player. Last year, he was essentially playing on one leg, and he was giving you a lot of production, especially before coming in and actually figuring out what the hell was going on with that knee. So I think it's great to have a 3-game audition, not only go for the playoffs, but for next season, right? If we're going to be able to keep him on a low price deal, especially since he didn't really show a lot, probably not going to be a ton of interest with him out there just because he wasn't overly crazy these last couple of games. This 3-game audition can kind of just help him flow into the offense into next season and kind of help flow that a little bit better. But I think it's great to have him just kind of add on to what he did. We saw the shooting was a little bit better. The burst was absolutely there. The defense was there. So he brings some stuff to the table, and he does it in a unique package. He kind of brings it all together in a unique way that really no other player brings it together on this team. So I think it's perfect. If we get that game tonight and we can have a 3-game audition for him, it's not only good for the playoffs, but it's good for next season as well.
I think one of the Charlotte Hornets has entered the building here on the bottom left screen. Actually, that's our guy Timothy, who's in here for the Bahamas, is going to be at the game tonight. Look at that, live from FTX Arena. Where are you, Timmy? Sorry, I'm being chased out by moving chairs.
Yeah, I'm on the balcony,
Yes.
Much better view than Ethan.
Yeah, I mean, this is my view right now. This is where I usually go, see chairs, folding chairs. So much preferable there. Timmy, if you can hear us tonight, first thing, explain why you're here. I guess let's start there. And also, this Hornets team.
Apparently he's in playing. He came back the G League ended Tuesday, Saturday, and he's supposed to come, but I guess he decided to stay in Charlotte, so he didn't come for the game.
So they sent you instead. Okay, that's how this works. All right. Yeah, I'll go to you. All right. Well, let's go to Timmy and Brady both on this. I'll start with you, Timmy. Charlotte right now, 40 wins this year. I spoke to somebody. It does tell you the different. They're very complimentary, by the way, Charlotte radio about the Heat. Everybody I talk to there, I don't know what it is, Greg. Maybe because you're in the area generally, but everybody I talk to there, every time I do radio in Charlotte, they're all like the Heat's the best team in the East. Like I don't hear. I mean, ESPN, we don't even hear about the Heat at all. But in Charlotte, they've said that consistently this year. But it's funny because they're talking like a 40-win season. And they're like, this is great for us. And I'm like, well, the Heat have had 10, 50-win seasons since Riley arrived. And they would have had 3 others if not for lockouts and COVID. But, Timmy, let's go to you. I mean, they tried to integrate Hayward the other night. Didn't go particularly well, as they were talking to me on the radio. LaMelo Ball shooting 24% against the Heat this year. 24%. He's 12 of 50. He's shooting 15% from 3. Give me a path to victory for Charlotte tonight.
Really and truly, I think it's the same way we've beaten them. But what worries me, what helps the Heat, is that Oubre was an early 6th Man of the Year candidate, and Oubre has averaged like maybe 8 points in the last 20 games. Like I don't know what happened because his minutes hasn't dropped. You think with Hayward being out, he would have scored more. I was just watching him warm up just now. Oubre missed maybe 15 straight shots in warm ups. I don't know if it's mental. I don't know if he's tired. Like Oubre does not look like he did the first.
I love those updates.
Somehow, players always play amazing against the Heat, but yeah, Oubre has been I can't even call it a funk anymore. It's been almost a quarter of the season. But though Hayward still, I saw him on the court watching. He's watching a lot of film of his past games against the Heat. I know Hayward sometimes does not miss from the 3 against us, so I think it's making sure Hayward does not get hot from 3. All of the games I can remember watching with Hayward the last 4 years against the Heat, he always hits his threes. It's like you could have 3 men on him, he hits it. So I'm scared that Oubre is going to break up his funk against us. But otherwise, I expect Depot to maybe carry some of that what he had last game. I think Depot's gonna have the mellow in hell tonight.
To that end, Depot defensively, I saw Trilly put some of these numbers up. Since the All-Star break, Brady, I mean, again, it's not a huge sample size here, but we talked about it. The defense came back for Oladipo right away. Since the All-Star break, he's holding like his man like 12% under what they typically shoot. Like it's the best mark on the Heat. What have you seen defensively from Oladipo? And obviously they're bringing Isaiah Thomas off the bench now. Like they do have some backcourt punch. So I mean, is that his primary role tonight?
Yeah, I think even from the first game, like the thing we talked about after that game was that he just looked really good defensively. And it's not that the on-ball stuff is there. Like that's where that number comes from of just locking down and kind of getting that field goal percentage down. But the thing that makes him a really good defender is that he's just really good off the ball and he's just good positionally. That he fits into they double the second place in charges, but he fits right in there where he's just always in the right spot on rotations and just help side. That I think that's the big thing here. Like I said before that the reason that would kind of put him over the top in the rotation would be defensively, and I think he's been that. I just think there's been too many questions offensively and fitting in. And to your point earlier about maybe having these 3-game audition, my question is kind of, are those 2 last games really going to be an audition if the rotation isn't intact? Because I don't think they're curious about Oladipo if he can score 23. They're curious if he can be implemented next to Tyler and next to Jimmy and all these guys. So if there's an audition game, I think it's tonight more than the next 2.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and I think you're right to that degree. I mean, to me, the thing about Oladipo is, we talk about space. I mean, he made 6 threes the other night. Like, I feel like that becomes an X factor to a certain degree. I know Zach Lowe on his podcast had put up basically that Duncan Robinson is the worst isolation defender in the league this year, pretty much. I mean, and so we talk about guys getting hunted. Oladipo's not going to get hunted. So let's have the Duncan Robinson conversation here because I would anticipate he gets minutes tonight, but he could be the odd man out also in a game like this because they do have 10 playable players. Make the case. I kind of know Greg's feelings on this to a certain degree. So I'll go to Jonathan. Make the case for or against Duncan Robinson being a regular in the postseason rotation.
I'm going to make the case against it. I was looking at the catch and shoot statistics after the All-Star break for Max Strus. I believe it was like 43% he's shooting on like 5 attempts on just catch and shoots, right? Pull-ups, I think he's on 39% after the All-Star break. And I really trust him in a 5 to 7 minute burst way more than I do Duncan. I feel like Duncan has to kind of get things going. Max can just light it up in an instant. So I would say if we need that 3-point shooting and it comes down to it in the playoffs, I would much rather play Max Strus. You talked about the immense amount of lineups with Max Strus there just being a net positive. I think overall, if you need that extra 3-point shooting, you go Max Strus and you kind of roll the dice with that because I feel like over the post All-Star break when we've been implementing the new lineups and kind of seeing what's really going to work come playoff time, Max Strus has been pretty implemental in that, and I feel like he has earned that spot over Duncan Robinson.
All right, that was David Friedman, our guy Taco Bell, who's going to jump on and do prize picks, maybe with Greg and I here in a second. But before we let David jump in here with the picks, let me get to the rest of the crew here with the picks for the actual game tonight. Brady, I saw you say that Jimmy Butler was the key tonight. He's kind of feasted on Charlotte before. I feel like this could be Jimmy's last regular season game tonight, potentially. I wouldn't anticipate he's going to play in Orlando if they got the one wrapped up. Like I said, they may have the one wrapped up before they play against Atlanta on Friday night. Go through it again. Jimmy's the key?
Yeah, he's averaging like 25 a game this season against Charlotte. And one of those games was a bad game in general because it was that game right before the All-Star break where everybody just shot poorly, but they got the win. But the thing is that this is a team that really just fits his offensive, scoring chart where he can just hunt certain guys and get them on their back and score down low. I keep having this vision of just him posting up Terry Rozier every play earlier in the season. And it was kind of what he did because he loves shooting over the top of smaller defenders. He can bully them down low, but he also can get his jumper going because he can shoot over the top of them. This just feels like a Jimmy game from that perspective. And to your point right there, I think this probably could be his last game of the regular season. I don't see a way he plays against the Magic. And it feels like if they get this win and if Jimmy plays that way, I don't see a reason he plays in Atlanta on Friday either.
And that also means he probably wraps up the Heat scoring title. Although I'm going to say, technicality that was raised to me by somebody on Twitter, Jimmy would not qualify for a scoring title this year. And thus, Thus, I was
Tyler?
right. Tyler Hero led the Heat in scoring.
He may still get there.
He
could get 40 tonight, 40 the next night, and 40 in Orlando.
It's 21.3 to 20.6 right now. So he would need you need a light Jimmy game today, and then you probably need Tyler to average 40 over the last 3. You're right, but I'm claiming it anyway. I'm just letting you guys know that I'm claiming it anyway. All right, before we get to David here at the PrizePicks, Timmy, you're here. If you're you were here for a loss last time, weren't you?
Yeah, the Suns lost. That's when I was here.
Okay, so this will be your fault tonight. Are they winning?
For sure. Like Brittany said, this is Jimmy's last game of the season. He's going to show.
All right, we got it. The sound quality is about my sound quality these days, so I'll buy you a new phone at halftime. Jonathan, are they winning tonight?
Yeah, I think I'm taking the Heat. I think, apart from Brady's point, the ball movement is going to be a really big key. Charlotte scores the ball really, really well. They're a young, fast team. We're going to have to move the ball crisp, not turn the ball over a lot. And to your point, Tyler Hero as total, his point total is 13-17 this year compared to Jimmy's 11-72. So technically, Tyler Hero has scored more points this season, including the games played, like you said. But yeah, I'm going to take the Heat tonight. I think the ball movement is going to be key. If we have more than 15 turnovers, I think we lose this game. We have to keep the ball movement tight.
Yeah, last 3 opponents for the Heat rank 24th, 28th, and 19th in defense. No excuses to rack up 20 turnovers against these teams. Greg, who you like?
Well, I'm taking the Heat, but I'll give you the reasons why. Although, just to clarify, the reason why I was nervous about the Chicago game is because it's so hard to sweep a team in a regular season series. The Heat are trying to do that again tonight. They've won 3. This will be a 4-game sweep. They've done it 7 times before. So 7 times in the history of the 2 teams meeting is not that many times that they sweep them. That being said, Philly just blasted him with 140 plus, scored 86 in the second half. That was the most points ever scored on the Hornets in a half ever. So Miami will be able to take advantage of that leaky D. I'm going with the Heat. We'll talk about PrizePicks in a minute because I usually give those now, but it's all Heat tonight.
Brady?
Yeah, I think the Heat win. I think, like I said, I think it's a big Jimmy game. Tyler would. Speaking of that scoring title, I think it's possible because I don't see him resting against Orlando. He could put up a 40-piece on them, and you might be right. But I think this is a Jimmy game, and bigger than anything, I just want to see the rotation. Not Oladipo himself, because we know the burst he can give, but it's just where Chris Quinn wants to implement them, even though it's kind of as a group, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I feel like Spo's in touch. All right, Brady, Jonathan, we appreciate it. We're going to go to PrizePicks here with Greg and David. That's something we're going to try to do as we go forward. Use the code 5, FIVE, get your initial deposit matched. Mr. Friedman, you can follow him at Talk About Sports. What are you thinking tonight? Unmute.
I've never used my phone here. I'm doing the Ethan thing now. I'm
You're
going Plumlee. Yeah, look, it's rubbing off on me is the problem. I'm going Plumlee under fantasy points, 19. I've been hitting on that. It's gone down from like 20 something to 19. But against the Heat, he's really struggled this year. So I'm going with that.
Yeah, we've talked about Bam struggling at times to take advantage of Plumlee, but it's not like Plumlee does anything on the other end. Is there anything on the Heat side that you like?
They have nobody. They have no one on the board.
No one on the board yet. Still, they didn't know who was going to play.
They took them off.
Yeah,
they were there when I looked.
All right.
Yeah, no, none right now.
All right, let's project a couple again. If you use the code 5, you get your initial deposit match.
Oh no,
appreciate it.
Bam is here. Bam, only Bam. Sorry.
Okay,
rebounds.
All right, what do we like on Bam?
19.5 points. He has not hit that in 4 of his last 5. And I don't necessarily think he's going to hit that tonight. I have a pick. I'll throw 2 of them quickly. One, you have 19 minutes and 33 seconds to take advantage of DeMar DeRozan on a Taco Tuesday discount, 10% off. He's at 24.5 instead of 27.5. Zach LaVine's not playing for Chicago. Grab that DeMar DeRozan pick. Use the code 5 to double your initial deposit. Here's the other easy money. Tyrese Halliburton. He's at 10.5 assists.
Oh, yeah.
He's gone over 4 of the last 5 against Philadelphia. He plays. Indiana won that trade, and he's playing awesome. So there's your non-Heat picks. And use the code 5.
Use the code 5 FIVE. All right, David. Before we go here, let me just throw out some possible ones for you. You tell me just real quick if you would go up or down. If Hero is 19.5 tonight, you go up or down?
I know up is the right answer. I'm going down. Like I have been off the Hero. I was going with Hero over on everything until like Oladipo came back. It just kind of, yeah.
All right, so we'll go with him. All right, Jimmy, typically he comes in at around 21.5 points. Up or down?
Down again. Look, I know Charlotte gives up a lot of points. That's the only thing, right? But
he kills Charlotte too. I'm going up there.
He kills Charlotte. All right, and let's do this. I don't know if Oladipo is going to be on the board or not, but just for fun, if Oladipo came in at 9.5 points, would we go over or we go under?
Going over. Like I said, the Charlotte giving up a lot of points. I'll take the overs on those. But
all right, so you like the collective getting the points tonight, not necessarily Bam, Jimmy,
you might be right,
or Tyler. I think that is possible. We'll see how Chris Quinn spreads out the minutes. All right, you can catch PrizePicks on 5 here on the station, but we are going to try to do more of this before the playoff games, where we'll get David. You can follow him at David W. Eversole on here before the games to give you some of our picks. Alejandro going to take you from here. MarkBrownPA.com. Thank you to our sponsor, also Biscayne Bay Brewing. Make sure you're signing up for our Off the Floor thread, and also Pace and Space at halftime. We've got the group there, Tony and Marco and Sean handling that, and then Royals back tonight hosting postgame, I think. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you guys for being here in the pregame show. We appreciate your support. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to our channel, give it a like, a thumbs up. It will be good. Activate the notification so you get turn it on so you get a notification every time we go live, and leave your comments here. That also helps us to keep growing our channel. Let's go ahead and listen to the coaches today. Again, Chris Quinn is taking over for Eric Spoelstra, still out because of health and safety protocols. So we're going to go ahead and listen to him talking about tonight's matchup between the Miami Heat and the Charlotte Hornets. Here we go.
Thought process there, if you could.
Yeah, he's been working hard. Obviously, it was a good road trip. The back-to-back, also the emotional toll of the other night, which was really great to be a part of. Being recognized like he was, as a champion. So he just needed a day.
And Dwayne has had that ongoing back issue. So where does sort of that stand now that we're a week or so away from the start of the playoffs?
Yeah, he's doing fine with his back. He's a professional. He's getting treatment daily. He tweaked his ankle the other night, so he's just dealing with it day by day.
Hey Chris, obviously the scene a couple of nights ago was pretty cool in the locker room. How quick was Spo to message you after the win, and also I guess how involved has he remained throughout the last few days, even though he's away from the team?
Yeah, Spo's involved every step of the way still. He FaceTimed me before and after that scene in the locker room, directly after the game. He had a text waiting for me, as I got back to the locker room, and then, hi, Kyle. But yeah, even today, prepping for the game, he's still doing everything like he normally would, just remotely. The game plan, the preps, all that stuff. I've FaceTimed and Zoomed with Spo more in the past 48 hours than probably in a long time.
Hey, Quinny. Victor had obviously a great game. Showed some burst and shooting ability. Anything surprise you in regards to what he did in the last game? Because you're seeing him, practice on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's probably less surprising to us than everyone else, just based on what we see daily, the amount of work that he's put in. Obviously coming off an injury like that is very difficult, and then being ingrained back into a team like ours is very difficult as well. So, I think it was great, on that back of a couple fresh bodies. He really brought an energy and spark that we needed. But, it's what we expect based on what we see and how much work he's put in to build his strength back, his conditioning levels, and all that stuff.
Hey, Coach, I apologize if you've already answered this, but I'm just curious what you've seen from the guys from the losing streak to now winning the last four. What's been a couple biggest differences?
Yeah, it was kind of a 1 week to another week, pretty drastic. But, guys just stuck together. There was some slight rotational changes with our team. But the vibe around the team, everyone is really enjoying each other. And you can see by our play, they're helping each other on the court. The ball movement, the player movement on the trip was definitely taken to a new level, and not necessary to beat really good teams.
Go via Zoom to Wes Goldberg. Go ahead.
Hey, Chris. You've obviously been around Bam for the last few years, but what have you seen from him and his development defensively? Like, what's been the biggest leap for him, and what are your just general thoughts on his Defensive Player of the Year candidacy?
In my opinion, he's the Defensive Player of the Year. For us, he does everything defensively. We're obviously asking him to switch so much. To really have the ability to guard 1 through 5 and guard it the way he does is very unique. And to be a part of a winning team and a winning defense, and pretty much we put it all on him. And then you combine that with PJ and Jimmy and that starting lineup with Kyle, usually. Switching really allows us to be more dynamic.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was Coach Quinn talking about today's game and that particular special moment in Toronto when he got his first win, and the Miami Heat is closer and closer to get that to clinch that first place in the East. They're facing the Charlotte Hornets tonight. Again, 2 games ahead of this Boston Celtics, 2.5 ahead of the Bucks, 2.5 ahead of the 76ers as well, and the Bulls are already way behind, 5.5. And there's only 3 games left for the Miami Heat. So let's continue with our pregame show. I know you guys have sent some of your messages here. I'm reading them, all of them. Jose, saludos. Vamos a cenar a Charlotta. Tony, Andrew, all of you. Mike, thank you. Jay, all of you that are sending your messages. So let's continue with our pregame show now with our, since this, let me see. Yeah, today's episode was so long. I'm going to go ahead and right straight to it. And let's play today's episode of 5 on the Floor. Well, not today's episode. Monday's episode, yesterday's episode of 5 on the Floor, in case you missed it, talking a little bit of what happened on that night, that particular night, special night. The Kyle Lowry return to Toronto, and the questions about what are the Miami Heat are going to do with Victor Oladipo once he's back. Once everybody's back in action, or once the playoffs start and they have everybody available, including our coach Eric Spoelstra. So let's listen to the episode, and then we'll get ready to enjoy the game. Miami Heat facing the Charlotte Hornets tonight at FTX Arena.
Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. We're on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast. We're also on Dash Radio on their Nothing But Net channel every single weeknight at 7 p.m. Also, check us out on 5 Reasons YouTube channel. These episodes export there, but also you get original episodes like, for instance, Before 4, which we do there once a week. Also, we do that for every game. We do Floor's Yours once a week, but Before Floor is an hour before every game. Post up 5 hours as soon as the game ends. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and you will get all of our episodes there. Also, check out 5reasonsports.com. No paywall content, unlike the newspapers. Brady Hawk's latest takeaways are already up as we speak. And check out the great sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We mentioned this one quite a bit here. This is our friends over at You Break Wheel Fix. You Break Wheel Fix. This is where you go to get your wheels repaired or just to make them look a whole lot nicer. Okay. They got like the big 3 of all your car wheel needs. They do the wheel repair, the refinish, and the custom wheel specialist there. They got over 20 years of experience. They repair damaged wheels from curb rash, cracks, or bends, all under one roof with in-house powder coating, CNC machining, and polishing. They also offer the new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands. And they offer no credit check financing up to $5,000 for a new set of wheels. Right now, they are still over on Biscayne and Northeast 146th Street in North Miami. They're going to be moving relatively soon, but you can still check them out there. Biscayne and Northeast 146th Street in Miami. They had to get bigger because so many people are checking them out. You Break Wheel Fix, changing the way that you see wheels. You got to change the way that you check them out on social media. You Break Wheel Fix on Instagram. You Break Wheel Fix on Facebook. Also, you can give them a call at 305-748-0112. That's 305-748-0112. YouBreakWheelFix.com. Mention 5 reasons to Mark and the crew down there, and you'll get a discount. And now, tonight's episode.
Down the Biscayne. Yeah. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Buster said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all planned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, this power has the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, Ethan Skolnick back on 5 on the Floor, and literally back. I flew back from Chicago today and didn't go to Toronto, nor did any of the other beat writers, in part because we were concerned about what might happen at customs, and you may have a positive COVID test and get stuck in the country. And then it turned out that that's what Eric Spoelstra had. He could be the coach tonight, or he was put in the protocols. And so no Eric Spoelstra tonight, no Jimmy Butler, no PJ Tucker, no Gabe Vincent, no Dwayne Dedmon. That's 4 members of their rotation, including 2 starters, playing against a hot Toronto Raptors team that's competing for playoff positioning, still had an outside shot at getting home court in the first round. You go up there again, second night of a back-to-back, all of the emotions of the Kyle Lowry ceremony. You fall behind 13 early. You're playing against a big team. You're outgunned, it seems, but we were saying it at halftime on our threads. You should check out our off-the-floor thread. They just needed somebody to get hot from outside. Strus Robinson didn't make a 3 in the first half. They didn't get any from Robinson in the second half. They got 23 points from Max Strus in the second half. Is that right? They also got Victor Oladipo's best game with the Heat by far. They closed with a 4-guard lineup and out-rebounded the Raptors down the stretch. And they overcame some poor free throw shooting and some poor decision-making to get the win. The floor plan tonight, I've got Greg Sylvander. You can follow me at Greg Sylvander. I've got Alex Toledo. You can follow him at Tropical Blanket. I want to go over this game with you guys quickly and the significance of what they accomplished tonight. And then I've got some stuff about Heat fans that I've been dying to get to, because tonight on the timeline was indicative, again, to me, that people are not appreciating this season enough. But let's just go to tonight. Alex, what did you like best?
Oh, man. I mean, that's a tough question. I guess what I liked best was the 3-point shooting barrage. Like, tonight was a night, I feel like, where they needed that to happen. And especially, and I think you said it on our Winnow tech subscription service, which you guys should all check out, that the Heat need one of Max or Duncan to pop off. And that's exactly what happened in the second half. Not only did Max pop off, where he got you with 7 threes, but you got 6 threes from Victor Oladipo after he had a rough first half with, I think all 5 of his turnovers were in the first half, if I remember correctly. They might have been. It felt like it. But just in general, I like the effort to respond versus this team on the road, where I can't imagine what it's like to go up against this team where they're playing 4 guys at a time who could be considered power forward or center, just on, from their traditional position. And then you have like Gary Trent or Van Vliet as the one small guy when they're not playing together. It just seems like a nightmarish, just situation to be in. Shout out John Crotty with all of those 7-footers with crazy length switching all over the place. For them to come back, and it looked like they were not able to really get anything going on offense in that first half. They scored 70 combined in the second half compared to, I think it was 45 or something like that in the first. So to be able to do that in the second half and come back with a big response like that, missing all these guys, it's really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, tonight there's a million ways we can go in terms of what really stood out. It's good to get Kyle a victory. I kind of this was a punctuation of this 3-game trip that to me just jumps off the page as something super impressive. Like, we talk about the word resilience and I keep using it over and over again. I just can't emphasize it enough. Like, when we look at Heat teams, for a team to get so kind of on edge and then come back and respond this way, and you see Max Strus go on this trip and shoot something like, I think 13 of 20 from 3 on the trip or something like that, 13 of 22 maybe. Kyle Lowry, 28 assists, 4 turnovers on the road trip. It's just, those are those little things where you start to realize that this team continues to have responses, and that bodes well. And I think, like, the Oladipo thing aside, I think I did see like a faction of the Heat Twitter, which I know is a small subset of the fan base, talking about, oh, does this mean Oladipo is part of the rotation? Don't read into it that much. Just enjoy Oladipo looking good. But ultimately, like, this road trip, it was super impressive, and it negated any of that stuff that happened in the 4-game slide.
All right, I'm going to get to it earlier now because you kind of touched on it. But the one thing also that you talk about resilience, they have resilience within games also. Individual players. Max Strus didn't do anything in the first half in Chicago either, right? But then came out and had a big second half, and he just seems to have that kind of alpha mentality that we've talked about, that he just doesn't care. And by the way, Max, I was not at the game tonight, so I would not have been responsible either way. He did note on the way to the locker room in Chicago that they finally won with me on the road. I marvel at the resilience of this group this year and everything they've dealt with. And then, having the one bad week that people started to write them off, and we were frustrated by things that were going on also, and they've been resilient with that. And what Eric Spoelstra told me up in Chicago was, I really wasn't that worried about the sideline stuff and all that. We just haven't been playing well. Like, I mean, for him, it comes down to that. And everybody looked at that as a sideline confrontation as the cause. It was the effect. It was not the cause. It was a result of frustrations that had been happening behind the scenes, but they dealt with it. Maybe not exactly the way that they wanted to, but they came out of it stronger. But I want to get to something Greg said here tonight, because this is frustrating with this team. And then we're going to devote, I do think we should devote the second part of the episode to Oladipo, because I think this is a significant game for his career. I don't know what it means for the rotation right now, but I think it's significant to see him do some of the things he did tonight. But this is the thing. Like, I feel like Heat fans are just, they're just looking for reasons to complain in a season that there's just not much to complain about. Or they're looking for things to fear when they shouldn't be feared. Okay. And so the first thing is, you mentioned it, like the rotation. Like, when somebody plays well, it causes this freak out about how you're going to implement the guy in the rotation. Can't you just say that the Heat's 5th guard tonight gave you more than 20, 6 threes? Okay. Basically drove from the beyond the elbow, beyond the 3-point line for a dunk. Like, isn't that good? Like, why does that have to be looked at as a negative? Why does every time that Max Strus play well that you have to get all the tweets about Duncan Robinson? Why is this a zero-sum game? Like, we get it. Max is starting. We advocated for Max to start at this point. But, like, I don't understand it. Like, there are just some, and maybe it's just this small Twitter subset, and maybe this does not exist in the general Heat public, okay? When I go to Heat games, and Alex and Brady and I go to Heat games, maybe we don't encounter it as much there. There's just some people on Twitter that just, like, they want to be miserable this year. Like, they want to, it's like, even if you go under the Miami Heat's posts of their wins, it's like, Duncan's useless. Like, that's the first post, and the second post, and the third post. And it's like, you just won on the road in the second night of a back-to-back. Like, maybe Duncan will get you another game. So that's the first thing. Okay. And I'm going to let both of you guys weigh in on that. The second thing, okay, series, and then Stoudemire hit a fire extinguisher. Right, that team wasn't beating you. The third year,
It was Milwaukee. Was it Charlotte? I think it was Charlotte, right? No, it was Charlotte or Milwaukee. I forget the order. Was Charlotte team or Milwaukee? Okay. Al Jefferson was the best player on Charlotte. Okay. Milwaukee. I've told this story before.
Jennings?
Well, Milwaukee was so checked out. Okay. They had traded for JJ Redick that year. They had so checked out that Joe Goodman and I were playing pool in a loft hotel down the street from the arena with the Heat had a 3-0 lead, and Monte Ellis was there playing pool also because he had checked all of his stuff out of his house and was staying in a hotel because he knew that they were going to get swept. Okay. That's what, okay. That was Brandon Jennings, Bucks and 6, right? Like, okay. So they drew really easy first round opponents in the 8 seed. LeBron over the course of his career, even when not with the Heat, has drawn easy 8 seeds. Michael Jordan drew easy 8 seeds. I get it. The Nets are not who you want to play in the first round. All right. But you're going to have to beat a team better than the Nets to win a championship. So, I mean, right? I mean, you're going to have to beat probably the Phoenix Suns or the Memphis Grizzlies to win a championship. So what are we talking about here? I mean, the Nets give up 140 points routinely. Kevin Durant scores half their points. Like, I don't. So this like, don't get the 1 seed. Make sure you don't get the damn 1 seed. You deserve the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Get your home court and see how it fits. I'll let you guys weigh in on both of those things.
So first off, this is the thing about Brooklyn. Like I'm gonna go in reverse order. Brooklyn is going to need to play a do or die game in a 9-10 matchup, and then another do or die game in the essentially play for the 8 seed in this hypothetical world where they're the 10 seed as they currently stand today. So that means that they're in these 2 elimination high intensity games. And then they'd have to go down to a rested Miami team at home and play them as I just don't understand why there's such I feel like that Kevin Durant just I understand why he would spark fear in Heat fan hearts, but that team, I just think also don't underrate the ability for Miami to turn that Brooklyn arena into home games on the road in the playoffs. And that stuff can flip the entire vibe of the series. So I'm with you there. I think you don't hide from this because you think about what a game 7 against a Milwaukee means when it's at home or against Boston or whoever it may be. And your first point about what exactly
I mean, just how miserable Heat fans are. Like every positive development is looked at as a negative.
I have one sentence for that.
Yeah.
This is how it is in life. You can choose to be happy, or you can choose to always be right. But you can't be always happy and you can't be always right. You can't be both. So you got to choose which road you're going to go down. And a lot of people think that they're pursuing happiness when they're actually just wanting to be right a lot. And I think that you see it the most amplified on social media. And that's what you're seeing from Heat fans. So it's just a micro of what's happening in the macro in this world.
Alex, I mean, do you want to weigh in on that first?
I mean, it's hard to follow, Leif. It's really hard to follow.
I mean, we're subtweeting people right here, but I think they deserve it. Like, I mean, this season has been ridiculous.
Is that my whole thing with this is that for the past season or so, I stay off Twitter during games. So that's my whole
You are
response.
really good about that.
It's a preemptive measure because I used to be on Twitter all the time during games, and it's just the roller coaster. I got over it. You know, fans are gonna be fans. I get it, and all we do is talk about the Heat, you know, on a daily basis, whether on Twitter, all the different Heat podcasts there are. Like, there's a lot of Heat thoughts going around. I get that some fans are not exactly confident versus some of the best teams. Hey, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. I get it. They don't have the top end superstars that, you know, they don't have a Giannis, they don't have a Kevin Durant. I understand that, but like, first of all, the Nets are only a game back of the AFC, so they still might, you know, be able to grab the 7th seed and you know, avoid the Heat altogether. But besides that, it's like, what's the point of thinking about that ahead of time? Like you guys said, you're going to have to play better teams if you want to get to where you think you're going to get to. Obviously, you don't want to play all the best teams back to back to back. So it's more than understandable. You don't want Kevin Durant and Kyrie in the first round. We saw what happened when they came over. But like this team has proven over and over again this year that they've been up there for a reason. Like they beat good teams all the time. They've beaten pretty much every good team, I think, except the Warriors. When you talk about contenders, so I just think like the worrying is very over the top, and just constantly having to relitigate the problems with the team after everything. It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Well, Alex, look, guys, there are legitimate concerns.
Like we know the problems.
What we discussed. I mean, the late game offense, like, as good as Tyler was tonight, I would love for him not to hit the rim with a pass at the end of a game. I would love Bam not to commit foul off the ball. I would love Bam not to miss free throws or other guys to miss free throws. I mean, they repeatedly, no matter who it is, except it seems Kyle, because Jimmy's been part of this too this year, make mistakes late in games and make these things more harrowing than it should be. How many times this year have I texted you guys and said, well, I think we might be able to pod with 6 minutes left of the fourth. And then all of a sudden a 14-point lead shrinks to 4. That's a legitimate concern. They may blow a game in the playoffs because of the fact that they don't seem to handle those situations particularly well. I get that. Okay. And I know we're going to get accused of fan policing here, but I just want people to go back to their expectations before this season. Kyle Lowry was added. Vegas put them at about 47.5 to 48.5 wins. They're already at 51. They've got 3 games left. If they want to win those 3 games, they will. Okay. They're playing Atlanta and Charlotte at home, and they're playing Orlando on the road. That's as much of a gimme as you can possibly get these days. So they're headed for 53 or 54 wins. They've done it with their big 4 hardly playing together, like 20 to 21 games, and at times struggling when they played together. Okay. With Jimmy in and out, with Kyle in and out, okay, with Kyle dealing with personal stuff, with Spo dealing with personal stuff, okay, prior to this, okay, which kept him out recently, and with Markieff Morris, who was supposed to be part of the rotation, missing 4 months, having to play PJ Tucker more than they wanted to during the year, with Oladipo coming back and not looking great when he did, when he was supposed to inject something there, all right, and we're going to spend the second part of the episode talking about him. They've done all of this stuff, and I'm just like, okay, so we're going to argue here about why Yurt's not playing more, or I don't want to see Duncan on the floor anymore, like, or Duncan's getting paid $18 million. Okay, well, for $18 million, for half of $18 million this year, they've gotten Max Strus, who's giving you 23 in the second half of a back-to-back on the road against a playoff team. 20, okay? Max Strus, undrafted, previous two-way. Gabe Vincent has a 75% win percentage as a starter this year in place of Kyle Lowry. Caleb Martin had 4 blocks tonight. Okay. I think they've missed him a lot lately. All right. And I mean, and they're getting,
so it evens out.
Right. And Yurt gave them 3 big baskets in the third quarter when they needed it, when Bam was getting a rest. And Dedmon has given them good minutes until recently, and then has picked it up again lately. That's 5 guys that are making between them $10 million. And we're going to sit here and complain about the fact that Duncan's making 18. I mean, if Duncan wins a playoff game or 2 playoff games, who gives an F?
And
okay, I'm serious.
I'll sum it up like this. I've been watching this team, and I'm not finger wagging at fans. Listen, I'm not. Since 91, Glenn Rice was the best player on that team that I initially started watching. And I can literally say, from that first team to the team that we are watching this year, this is one of the most satisfying regular seasons that the Miami Heat have ever had. Complete front to back, consistent, exceeding expectations, responding to adversity, finding ways to win games they're not supposed to, having a great record, getting a top seed. You have 3 guys almost averaging 20 a game. Like, this is one of the most satisfying regular seasons in franchise history. So complain about it all you want. That's the facts.
It's a lot more fun, I'll tell you, than the 2005-2006 regular season, which ended in a championship, by the way. But I'm talking about just the regular season, where, the coach basically was kind of sort of half forced out. Okay. The veteran players weren't meshing. All right. Behind the scenes, it was a mess, much more than it was this time. And they won 52 games that time, and they're going to end up winning more this time than they did that time. I mean, this is All right, that's it. Maybe I'm in a bad mood because I flew all day, but I get back on Twitter and it's like people are complaining up again, and I'm like, you had no right to win this game under the circumstances.
I've rubbed off on Ethan. It's perfect.
Did any of us expect them to
Got
win
him.
all 3 games of this road
No,
trip?
Hell no. That's the beauty.
We
of
all said
this.
2-1. 2-1 would be best case scenario here, and they won 3. And one of the games they won convincingly. Okay. And the first game, the Boston game, was the type of game you're going to have to win in the playoffs. And I come back to something Greg said here. Would you rather have a game 7 at home against Milwaukee and Boston or Boston? Okay. Or would you rather avoid the Nets? I would rather have the game 7 at home against one of those 2 teams. I'm sorry. All right, I want to get to Oladipo because he deserves some flowers tonight, as do a couple of other individual players. So we're going to do that. Before we do, I want to tell you about our great sponsors here at the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Brady is not here with us tonight, but that doesn't mean if you've got a personal injury situation that his official sponsor here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, our friend Eric Rubenstein, that you shouldn't reach out to him because you absolutely should. You can find him at Ask About Me, I Got You on Instagram. That's Ask About Me, I Got You. I promise you, this is the most entertaining Instagram account that you'll find for a personal injury attorney. But also, Eric's just a good dude, and he knows what he's doing. He graduated magna cum laude down at St. Thomas University right here in South Florida. He grew up in a personal injury family, and he's a huge Heat fan as well. So you can talk to him about that too. But mostly, he will help you get your money. Okay, so if you got a car accident, a slip and fall, medical malpractice, he's your man. Reach out to him at 954-829-ERIC. That's 954-829-ERIC for Eric. Not the way Spoelstra spells it, but his way. Again, 954-829-ERIC. Or again, check him out on Instagram and Ask About Me. I got you. Mention 5 Reasons when you talk to him, and I promise you, Eric will take care of you down there and get you the money that you deserve. All right, let's get to Depot here, because I tweeted something today, and now I'm getting a lot of backlash about it, and I don't think people really understood it. What I said was, okay, let me see if I can find it. All right, because this is another thing that was coming up today. Everyone asking why Oladipo wasn't playing if he could look like this, because that's always what happens. A guy has a breakout game, and then it's, the coaches were idiots for not playing him, when sometimes it's the way that the player was managed or held out that contributes to the performance. Nobody thinks of it in those terms, okay? This always happens when a guy gets inserted in the rotation. So tonight, they really had no choice, right? They had no Gabe Vincent. They had no Jimmy Butler. They needed to go to him. And what I said the second part, they arrested him recently in part, not completely, but in part to see if it would help him look like this. He wasn't going to stay in the rotation permanently because he didn't look right. Now, I'm not talking about physically, but I'm talking about flow of the offense, who he was playing with and all of that. And they had been playing better with Gabe, and Spo wanted to go back to that. That is still true, okay? But a small part of this was also Oladipo came back, and all of a sudden he had a back injury, okay? Or he was dealing with because his body is not there yet to just continue to push through. And he basically had a week off. And Greg, he looked, the threes, I'm not expecting that all the time. He's never been like an elite 3-point shooter, but he made a ton of them.
The dunk.
The dunk, right? The dunk.
That's what we like to see. But you know what? The 6 of 9 from 3, that tells you that the legs are underneath him as well. And also 4 assists, 3 rebounds. That means he's also not, to me, that tells me he's not thinking so much. And the more that he's just playing to react, he's going to getting deals. He didn't take care of the ball. We talk about things to be concerned about. Turnovers this is another thing that I think that we're going to have to watch as this team narrows things down. But overall, I wouldn't look at this as a Victor Oladipo performance that creates some sort of, can we stop with the controversy and the drama? This is not anything that has to do with the rotation. To that same point, Markieff Morris had a good game tonight. I think that he had some release valve buckets that the team needed. Ended up with 4 assists. You don't expect that. 3 steals from him. So, he played well. But that doesn't mean he's going to play in the playoffs or that he's part of this core rotation. I think we've seen Spoelstra, what he wants to get to. There may be a couple other wrinkles up his sleeve, but I don't necessarily think that they involve either Markieff Morris or Victor Oladipo. It's just nice that they're starting to play better, because in the event that you do have a double overtime game where two guys in your backcourt foul out, for instance, and you got to insert a guy. It's nice to see that Oladipo, if he's at a week's rest, can come in with legs and play well.
It's also, Alex, though, that this Heat roster, maybe more than any other roster in the East for sure, is flexible enough to go different directions, either at the start of a series or during a series, where maybe Vic makes sense to put in a game 3 if the team is struggling. And now you can at least go back to this game and say, okay, it's in him. It doesn't mean it's going to happen every night, but you can go to him. I thought this was huge tonight in the sense that guys who've worked hard to get back, Markieff and Vic in particular, got to be a part of a significant win this year. Like it makes them part of this whole process. And championship teams that I've been around, whether it was the Marlins or the Heat, obviously I've been around a playoff win for the Dolphins since 2000, so I'm not going to get into that. But when you look at those two teams in particular, there were contributors throughout the season that you didn't really expect. Like even the Marlins, like 2003, or 97, the Mike Mordecai's of the world, like just people popped up. They would have a contribution at some point, and then you could go back to them in the playoffs, and they felt part of it. I thought that mattered tonight.
Oh, it definitely mattered. And I think, like you said, it was good to see Vic and Markieff get those minutes, be a part of an important win and all that. But it's hard to see them, either of them, be a part of the playoff rotation. It feels like Spo has kind of already decided who he trusts the most and who are kind of the most solid day-to-day, game-to-game type of players. And that's why I don't think Vic or Keith overtake anybody and get any of those minutes. But sometimes I can't help but feel like, Vic should still have a little shot there because, man, sometimes like it's not even just when the shot is going, because obviously when his shot is going, he's like, you start to worry a little bit less about him being, a bad spacer or even a neutral spacer, because that's been the whole theme lately is wanting to go to more spaced out lineups and also playing a little bit smaller. And I think Vic is somebody who fits that very well. So if Gabe starts struggling, let's say in the first round, or, things don't look so great, maybe that's the type of card that Spo can play. I don't know how much of a difference it would make if you're in a bad position already. But as far as Vic by himself, like, I love what he did tonight because like I spoke about earlier, he had a rough start. Like I didn't like what I saw so much in the first half, even though, he was really trying to get to his spots. He was just kind of bumbling around with the ball, but he figured it out in the second half and kept attacking to not let it, I think, bother him. I would like for him to attack the rim even more. That's why I loved what I saw when he actually got to the rim and dunked it there, because I felt like he was settling more for the jump shot tonight. But obviously he ended up having it going. I just feel like what Leif said is 100% right. He looks like he has his legs down. And so this is a different type of player than Gabe Vincent. And if Gabe is struggling, I could totally see Vic being somebody who could get some playing time there, whereas opposed to more at a game, I like what he brings you. The Heat kind of trending smaller, I think, takes away his shot at getting any playing time because I don't know that he would take over Dedmon's spot.
Well, not just Dedmon, but also Caleb, right? Because I mean, yep. Caleb with the 4 blocks tonight, he plays above his size. But you mentioned that about Vic, and look, again, I tweeted out the Oladipo video of the dunk, and the first comment under it is him over Gabe, which is exactly what we're talking about here, because it's always creating some kind of controversy for something positive. But I get what you mean though, Alex, in this sense, that like this probably won't have to happen in the playoffs because Jimmy will be out there, right? Okay, or and you might use PJ, but they closed with 4 guards tonight. But I don't think they could have closed with 4 guards if it was Gabe instead of Oladipo because of the rebounding and just the physicality and the athleticism that Oladipo gives you. So there are certain situations if you were stuck in that position, say Jimmy fouls out, say these kind of circumstances that you can go to a guy like this and you can play. And look, these things happen. I mean, in the course of a long playoff run, if that's what you're going for here, I mean, I remember in 2014 finals where Eric Spoelstra was rolling out Michael Beasley. And okay, I know we love Bees, but he was rolling out Michael Beasley to save the last game. You remember the 2011 finals where he rolled out Eddie House in the last game against Dallas to try to, Eddie wasn't in the rotation, but he had to get something. He had to get something out of somebody, and nobody else was doing it. Alex is doing the thing right now. We all remember that in OKC. I was at that game. But that's the thing. Like, you will need to. I mean, we've seen like Rashard Lewis go in and out of rotations for Spoelstra during the playoffs. Mike Miller was a guy who was technically out of the 9-man rotation during the 2012-2013 season, found his way back in. Shane got benched, got put back in. Joel Anthony at times, okay? The first year, I mean, Ronnie Turioff, okay, was playing minutes. I can't remember if that was the first year or the second year.
Does Shandon Anderson count?
Well, Shannon doesn't like to think of it because he doesn't like to remember he was on that championship team. I don't think he ever came back from his ring. Actually, he and both Derek. I think we've discussed that. But look, they may need 5 minutes from somebody somewhere. And I think Morris, he's a pro. Like, you know, you give him 5-10 minutes, you know kind of what he's going to do. So I think there will be a comfort level there with him. But I agree with Alex that he's not as central to this discussion as Oladipo. Morris isn't going to be a game changer. He's just going to give you probably solid minutes that you're looking for in a certain situation. Oladipo could literally change a game in the playoffs. I think we saw it tonight. He kind of did. And so I don't think this has to be where you got to play him ahead of Gabe or you got to play him ahead of Duncan. I just think basically Eric Spoelstra seemed to me, and then we're going to close with something different here before we go. Eric Spoelstra seemed to me to be really relaxed on this road trip. I had a couple conversations with him on the side, and he just seems very at peace with where this group is right now, maybe because they got through some of the troubled water. But he knows he has chips to play, and he has more chips to play than he's probably, as you said, they've ever had before. Okay, so I just think there's a comfort in that, and I think this was really significant from a confidence standpoint for Oladipo, but his teammates' confidence in him too. The fact that he could be out there to close that game was major. All right, we got one more segment to get to here, and we'll make it quick. But we got a couple things I do want to touch on before we go. Also, we did mention you got to check out our Off the Floor feed. You can find it from 5 Reasons Sports. The 4 of us man that account. We kind of switch off during games and during the day. We give you stuff before you get it on the podcast, before you get it on Twitter. Sometimes before we never put it out anywhere else at all. So make sure that you check that out. It's $3.05 per month. Before we go, though,
All right. Thank you very much for being here with us in the pregame show. The game's already going on live on FTX Arena. Miami Heat facing the Charlotte Hornets. Thank you very much for joining us today. Remember, we'll be here for the post-game show, the post-up, hosted by our friend Royal Shepherd. As soon as the game is over, come over here back to your YouTube channel. And remember, we're going to be back during the playoffs. During the games, we're going to be doing this broadcast, so you guys can be commenting on what's going on live for the Miami Heat games once the playoffs start. Have a good night. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you later tonight here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Bye-bye.